It was the 13th century, a time when a storm rose from the east, a tempest so destructive that it was said grass would never grow again where it passed. The Mongols. Rising from the lineage of Genghis Khan, this storm was now sweeping west under the command of his grandson, Hulagu Khan, driven not merely by the desire to loot, but by a mission to extinguish entire civilizations. And now his gaze was fixed on the wealthiest and most advanced city in the world, Baghdad. But before reaching the city, Hulagu achieved the impossible by crushing the Hashashin, assassins, at their fortress of Alamut, the secret order feared by the world for murdering kings in their beds. He dismantled their impregnable strongholds like sandcastles, serving as a chilling first warning to Baghdad. If Hulagu could destroy the merchants of death, what chance did the Caliph stand? Meanwhile, Baghdad was lost in its own reverie under the Abbasid Caliph al-Mustasim Billah, a weak and hedonistic ruler who believed he was God's shadow on earth and untouchable by any infidel. When his commanders warned him of the Mongol threat, he laughed, boasting, "I have no fear. For all the kings of the east and west are my slaves. If I but signal, the whole world will come to my defense." The very arrogance that signals the beginning of the end. Yet Baghdad faced a danger far greater from within than from without, in the form of the Caliph's grand vizier, Ibn al-Alqami, a man history remembers as the great traitor. Burning with sectarian hatred against the Caliph, he orchestrated a horrific plan for revenge, advising the ruler to reduce the army to save treasury funds and negotiate with the Mongols, a trap the Caliph fell into, slashing Baghdad's 100,000-strong army to a mere 10,000 and effectively dismantling the city's defenses without even realizing it. From Hamadan, Hulagu sent a final message hard as stone. "You have made hearts of iron. Tear down your walls, fill your moats, and surrender. For if I am angered, nothing but the sky will save you." But at Ibn al-Alqami's urging, the Caliph replied with a threat of divine wrath, a response that made Hulagu smile the smile of death. Then came the day, January 29th, 1258, when the people of Baghdad awoke to find the ground beneath them shaking, surrounded on all sides by Mongol cavalry, catapults, and flamethrowers as far as the eye could see, with Hulagu encircling the city like a ring around a finger. Panic-stricken, the Caliph turned to his vizier and asked, "What do we do now?" only to receive the cold reply, "Now we wait for destiny." But Hulagu was not one to wait. He turned his catapults toward the walls, and as the first stone soared through the air, Baghdad's fate was sealed. The city was besieged, the traitors had done their work, and the defenders slept, but the true apocalypse was yet to come. The siege had begun, and day and night Mongol catapults rained down fire and stone. The Caliph's army, already crippled by the treacherous vizier, could not hold out for long. Just 12 days, that was all it took for the defenses of the world's most fortified city to crumble to dust. Hulagu Khan seized both the eastern and western gates, turning Baghdad into a massive cage that trapped hundreds of thousands of people inside, while starving wolves waited on the outside. On February 10th, 1258, Caliph al-Mustasim Billah raised the white flag. Assured that his life would be spared if he surrendered, he went to Hulagu Khan's tent to save himself. Hulagu feigned respect, offered him tea, and then issued an apocalyptic order. "Tell your army to lay down their weapons and march out of the city." The Caliph complied, and the moment his unarmed soldiers stepped outside, the Mongols slaughtered them like sheep. On February 13th, Hulagu Khan gave his army free rein over the city. Historians write that the Mongols were ordered to leave no one alive. They broke into homes, putting women, children, and the elderly to the sword. The streets choked with corpses, and mosques and palaces were set ablaze. The city of peace now mirrored the depths of hell, with the death toll estimated to be anywhere between 800,000 and 2 million. But the Mongols had not come merely to kill people. They came to kill the very soul of the Muslims, and that soul was knowledge. The horde stormed the magnificent Grand Library, the House of Wisdom, which housed rare manuscripts on medicine, science, astronomy, and the works of Aristotle and Plato, centuries of human endeavor. The ruthless invaders hurled these priceless books into the Tigris River by the millions. The ink from the pages bled into the water so heavily that the river ran black. The knowledge that could have illuminated the world was washed away forever. As one historian lamented, "If anyone tells you that knowledge survived the Mongols, do not believe them." And then, as the massacre reached its absolute peak, the Black River began to change color. It was no longer just ink. Human blood was now mixing into the current, turning the Tigris crimson. This tragic blending of ink and blood served as the ultimate death warrant for the Islamic Golden Age. Now it was the Caliph's turn. Hulagu Khan locked him away, starving and thirsty, before dragging him into his own treasury and presenting him with a plate of solid gold. "Eat," Hulagu mocked, "eat this gold." When the bewildered Caliph replied, "How can one eat gold?" Hulagu delivered his historic rebuke. "If you had spent this gold on your army, you wouldn't be feeding it to me today." Because the Mongols held a deep superstition that spilling royal blood on the earth would bring forth a natural disaster, Hulagu ensured the Caliph's blood would not touch the ground. Al-Mustasim Billah was rolled tightly inside a carpet, and Mongol cavalry mercilessly trampled him beneath the hooves of their horses, crushing his bones to dust. A harrowing, brutal end to the 500-year-old Abbasid Caliphate. The city was utterly obliterated, and the stench of rotting corpses grew so unbearable that even Hulagu Khan himself was forced to flee the area. The city that was once the beating heart of the world was now a desolate graveyard. As a poet beautifully mourned, "Rivers of blood flowed, the sun of knowledge set, and the streets of Baghdad fell silent." Baghdad was destroyed, but Islam was not. Exactly 2 years later, the Mamluk rulers of Egypt delivered a crushing defeat to these very Mongols at the Battle of Ain Jalut, shattering their myth of invincibility. Yet the Baghdad that was once the epicenter of knowledge would take centuries to regain even a fraction of its former glory. This history teaches us a timeless lesson. When rulers become oblivious and viziers turn into traitors, even the greatest of empires are rolled up in carpets.